Hey PC Gamers, and welcome back to the PC Gamer Chat Log. I am Lauren Morton, and I'm here with Mollie Taylor and Robin Valentine.
Hi.
Hello.
And we are all three here this week to debrief on the week formerly known as E3, which still does not have a name that feels nice to say, unfortunately. We are going to talk about that very shortly, but before we really hash it out, let's see. Robin, what did you do last week? What did you play?
Way too much Diablo.
Yeah.
I've just been slogging away at that game, but I think I've hit the wall. I was walking to the next side quest, and I was and I still don't have a horse, and I was I think I'm done. I think this takes too long. So I'm looking forward to the next thing now.
Don't let the gamers know you don't have a horse yet.
Oh my god, you don't have a horse and that was it for you. You're like, I'm done walking through this desert. I'm just gonna collapse here.
I kept doing story quests because it seemed to at some point get you the horse, but the story quests just kept leading me to bigger and bigger areas where I desperately wanted a horse. So that's the great purgatory of Diablo for me.
It's horseless. Mollie, what about you?
Yeah, so it's not quite PC gaming. I'm sorry, I let everyone down every week. I've been playing the Final Fantasy 16 demo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that game is
will be PC
out.
gaming.
Yeah, it's out as of yesterday when this episode goes up.
Wait, seriously? Did this
But
sneak
not on
up
PC.
On me? Oh, okay.
Yeah, not on PC, which sucks. So I've been playing it on PS5, and you know what? It's really good. I really like it.
Yeah.
I don't love the action combat direction the series has taken. I've had issues with it. But this is the most Final Fantasy game I've played in a hot sec. So
I still don't believe in the setting being Final Fantasy as Final Fantasy. I don't.
It is Final Fantasy as Final Fantasy. I can't believe it. It feels more Final Fantasy than 13 and 15 did.
Okay.
In my opinion. I'm having a really good time with it, and I'm looking forward to playing the full thing, even if it's not going to be on PC for probably a year.
You know what is on PC is Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, which is actually it'll be on PC in a couple of days. But as of right now, I'm able to actually talk about having played it. So you'll be able to read more about that on the site. But it's the remake of Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, which was on the GameCube years back. It was my entry point to farm sim games. So I've really enjoyed getting back to that. They've done a nice job with the remake. It looks good. It controls better because, oh my gosh, moving around. I went back and played it on the GameCube several years ago. It's like moving a tank. It was terrible. It was awful. There's nice little modernizations, being able to jump over fences, praise. So I've been having a good time with that. But that's what we got into previously. And I think sort of after we had recovered from all of the showcases that were happening, right?
Yes.
We had a conversation a few weeks back on the podcast with Wes about what we were hoping to see. And now we have Robin here to round up with us about what we did see from the Summer Game Fest, from the Xbox showcase, from our own PC gaming show, our sister site, the Future Game Show, Wholesome, Devolver was in there. I'm probably even missing some as well. There was Day of the Dev stuff. It was busy.
It was packed. Yeah. And because I wasn't around, I have a confession to make. If you were listening last week, you will know that I was not around for any of this showcase stuff. I was in a field listening to music without any internet. So I had to basically consume everything as soon as I came back, which Robin says I did in a very unhinged way.
You did.
Which was I watched all the showcases one after the other at 1.25, 1.5 times speed, because I don't think just looking at a roundup is the same. Roundups
it's
are
not.
good.
But
It's
I was
not
going to
the
say,
same.
Molly, you're who we wrote all these roundups for. Hello? Go to PCGamer.com and read about every announcement in the Xbox showcase and also every announcement in the PC gaming show showcase and the best, just the best from the Wholesome and
The
a
best in
couple of
general.
things.
We were in the
Yeah, so
trenches so that like you didn't have to be, Molly. That was the
Yeah.
and then I
was
did
the
it anyway.
agreement. Like
I threw myself in there voluntarily to try and get the full experience. I did resort to the roundups in the end because it turns out that trying to watch like 10 hours of announcements like in such a short amount of time really rots your brain in a way that I did not expect.
damning
So
indictment of the games industry. If you mainline too much of it at once, you have
yeah,
you get brain rot.
just severe brain rot. So that is how I consumed my showcases this time round.
So after we finally got through it all, us at 1x speed in real life and Molly at slightly larger speed after the fact. Robin, we'll start with you. What was did you have like one single favorite that you were like really psyched about from all of the shows?
So I'm really excited for Dragon's Dogma and Alan Wake 2. I want to get those out there
Mm-hmm.
because those are series that I'm just like a super big fan of. But the game that really stood out to me was Star Wars Outlaws. I thought the trailer for that really hit like a really specific Star Wars vibe that basically I've been waiting for a game with that kind of atmosphere for quite a long time. Like it's the kind of the dark side of Star Wars, or as dark as Star Wars actually gets, which is like
Which is not actually that dark, right?
it's like some minor crime, but it's like vaguely alluded to drug smuggling is about as bad as it gets. But
Oh.
I just love the like I love that kind of outer rim setting, the bounty hunters and the smugglers and the scoundrels and stuff. Um, and I just thought it struck a really good tone for that stuff. I really like the main character. It's got some stuff. Um, like I'm a simple Star Wars fan. If you show me a commando droid in a trench coat, I clap. Like yeah, and I think like it. I'm not 100% sure what to expect in terms of like it's a Ubisoft open world game. It could be quite formulaic in that way, um, but I'm always a bit more of a Ubisoft defender than most people. I think like even when their stuff is very formulaic, um, they do like really technically impressive worlds at like incredible scale. I think something like
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla doesn't really get props enough for the fact that it is a truly amazing digital space, even if
Mm.
you kind of you burn out on actually doing stuff in it. But like so I'm looking forward to seeing Star Wars on that kind of scale. I mean, I don't think we've ever really seen Star Wars on quite that kind of scale before, except maybe outside of like that recent Lego game was pretty comprehensive. But
Oh
that's a different that's a more blocky take on Star Wars. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that really stood out to me.
What about you, Molly?
yeah. So I also quite liked the look of Alan Wake or Alan Wick, as I saw a lot of people calling it. Because you see, you're shaking your head at me, Robin. I got bullied for this in the Slack when I said that he looks like John Wick. He looks like John Wick in this in that trailer with his little long hair and his beard and his facial structure. You cannot tell me that that is not Keanu Reeves.
John Wick has poisoned the brains of a generation. He's just a man with a beard and long hair. They existed before and they will exist after.
Well, Alan Wick looks good. And also it's a shame it kind of got spoiled. I think it leaked a, a few days before the showcase, but Persona 3 Reloaded looks very, very good. I have not been able to stick with the original Persona 3, just because like that whole like the exhaustion system really like messed with my brain and I did not like that part of the game. So I've tried once and I just couldn't fully get into it, but I know that it's a fantastic game. So I'm looking forward to seeing it kind of like remade with like, you know, the Persona 5 sort of feel and look, and I am really hyped for it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finally getting to experience that game because I hear nothing but good things about it.
Mm-hmm. Nice. For me, I guess I have to bring up Yakuza, right? Because we actually
Yeah.
had two trailers, one for the Gaiden game, the one that's like this Kiryu side story, which like is great, that's exciting, but like Kiryu needs to retire. Please let the man retire. He was literally supposed to. That's what the last game was about, was Kiryu getting to retire finally, and we have a new protagonist. Never mind. We're doing another game with Kiryu. It's fine. But then we also got a trailer, this like funny teaser trailer for the next like mainline Yakuza game, which is going to be called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And it did not tell us more about this game, like at all. It's just Ichiban waking up on the freaking beach. Everybody around him is speaking English. So he's in like maybe Hawaii, like maybe just like, or like, did he make it all the way to California? Who knows? We literally do not know. Although I guess like a yacht exploding and him like washing up in Hawaii would be a very Yakuza opening. Like that would be fitting. Yeah, and it was just a gag about him washing up naked on a beach and everybody freaking out. So we don't know any more than that.
It was a
Um,
great trailer. I
it's a
loved it. It
goofy
was
trailer, but I'm glad it exists.
yeah,
The,
it had me laughing out loud. So
the trailer that actually made me excited though was seeing Hammerwatch 2. And I talked about this on
oh,
the site. I wrote the news for it, and you can read it. Hammerwatch games, Hammerwatch and Heroes of Hammerwatch are both like these action RPGs. They're co-op. They're like these kind of smaller experiences. One's a rogue light, but Hammerwatch 2, they made a whole world. They're like, now we have a gear system, this whole skill system. We have quests and an open world, and it's like prettier than the other Hammerwatch games. So in like the post Diablo 4 world, and like with Path of Exile 2 also coming up, if you're like tired of live service, I feel like you need to pay attention to Hammerwatch actually. And so when I saw that trailer, I was like, oh hello. Or actually, it wasn't even a trailer. It was like a developer interview. That was the thing that actually made me like excited as I was watching. Like,
cool.
oh heck yes. Um, as for like our conversation before, Molly, like as we were getting ready for showcases, we picked some like funky things that like could show up that we were hoping for. What was yours? Did it wind up turning up?
I think the thing I asked for was a Tekken 8 release date, which we did not get. But we did get like an announcement of a closed network test. I guess like Capcom got bullied for calling it CBT. So now Tekken's calling it CNT, which looks great when you're reading those three letters together on a picture. That definitely doesn't look like suspicious at all. They announced it while I had no internet, and apparently it's first come first serve. Uh,
Oh.
which I don't love that concept. But then registration's also open until the end of the month. So I didn't quite get what I wanted, but I did get something. But I'm still kind of mad about it because I don't like how they did it. So that's how I ended up.
Mine was Crimson Desert. I was hoping that Pearl
Oh
Abyss, the
yeah.
developers of Black Desert, were gonna, because they were on the Summer Game Fest list as attending, and I was like, maybe they're finally gonna bring back their single player RPG to tell us about Crimson Desert. No, it was a Black Desert expansion, is what it was. So I didn't get what my weird pick either, but that's okay. There were other like weird moments throughout the showcases. Robin, do you want to pick a one to start with?
Well, even after the death of E3, it's lovely to see that the tradition of just absolutely bizarre creative decisions is still like going strong.
These things aren't even live, except wait, was Summer Game Fest was live
Yeah, some of
though?
them are.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Summer Game Fest is live, yeah.
Okay, all right. So the live spirit lives on.
I thought that the most pure was Nick Cage on stage at Summer Games Fest, which ended up. I mean, I thought Summer Games Fest, like the intro kind of showcase, was pretty weak, and it weirdly ended up being one of the highlights. Was just Nick Cage coming out and just talking as Nick Cage does. But yeah, him talking about how he wanted to like fuse with the audience, and
Oh yeah.
like he wants you to have a kind of transcendent soul linking with him whenever you play him as a new character
Dead by
in Dead
Daylight.
by Daylight. And I don't even understand. I don't even understand why he's in Dead by Daylight, because he came on and talked about it as if Nicolas Cage is known for being like, you know, a kind of survivor character in horror movies, but that's not the case. That's not what Nicolas Cage. He's in horror movies, but he's never like the part of like a group of teens getting picked off one by one or something. That's not. So that was kind of delightfully weird, and seeing Jeff Keighley, sort of the most like the straightest of the straight men of all time, standing there while Nicolas Cage talks insane nonsense. That was that like woke me up in the middle of that showcase. I was like, oh yeah, okay, we're in it. E3 is still with us.
Didn't he basically say that like no one's asked him to be in a video game before?
Definitely
so then
not
like
true.
so he was like asked to be in this game, and he was just like,
accurate.
yeah, sure.
He did a real. I mean, Nicolas Cage famously needs money and has done for the last like decade or more. And he gave a real like. You know, whenever a celebrity is in a game and they have to not say it's because they sent me a check. And
Yes.
They have to pretend they really have a connection with video games, and they're very excited about the medium.
I always think of Paul McCartney talking about how much he loves Destiny and how he wrote I think he claimed he wrote the Destiny song for free, which is one of the most insane things ever
He wrote
claimed.
the Destiny song?
He wrote an end credit song for the first Destiny.
I did not know this.
But yeah, Nick Cage had a whole kind of spiel about, you know, how he was desperate to do this because of his deep connection with the power of video games and stuff like that. And
yeah, that was it. That's what he was saying.
I don't think that's true, Nick. It's good to see
proud
you,
of Nick Cage for maybe knowing what video games are. I think he has like half a grasp on what these things might be.
But bless him, I mean, you know, fair play.
He's an enigma. I can't place how old he is either, because he came on stage and I was like, he's a lot younger than I like remember him being.
Like he's younger now than he was in the 90s or something. Him and Keanu Reeves both.
Quite youthful. I was like very surprised.
That's foundation, Mollie. I mean, God bless him. You know, he's aged relatively well, but I think that's makeup.
Years off him. That's probably my weird moment as well, especially because I had to I sort of consumed everything so quickly. That's why I wanted to watch the individual like the showcases as a whole rather than just getting the recaps, because you miss all the weird little moments otherwise. But yeah, that Nick Cage thing was. I remember us first getting that press release that he was going to be in Dead by Daylight, and everyone was just like, "What the fuck?" And even more so when he was on that stage, it was just very, very surreal.
It had already been announced as well. Like we not only did it get leaked before the announcement, it was announced, and then that was like a week before Summer Games Fest. So then when his face came up on the screen, it was like, well, wait, hold on. And they didn't reveal anything new about it. I don't think. I mean, I'm not a big Dead by Daylight person, so maybe I missed something. But that did seem like, oh, well, I guess Jeff was like, this is going to be my Keanu Reeves moment, right? This is going to be Know You're Beautiful or whatever it was. So I don't know if he quite got that, but it was memorable. Breathtaking. That's it. Apologies.
The everybody in our chat was also like heavily reacting to the Skull and Bones sea shanty during which show was it during? Was it during
Ubisoft?
I guess it must have been Ubisoft's own show, right? Yeah, they already had like multiple musical numbers by that point, I think, but then they brought out this group to do this was a good musical number for a game that, bless it, where is it? It's been delayed so many times. This Skull and Bones, their pirate game, like, will it ever see the light of day? We don't know. We did not see anything about it at this show. They just brought out people to do a sea shanty and then sort of had this little background on screen of a pirate ship, right? That's what happened.
It was
did they announce Just Dance?
Just Dance. Yeah, that had a big musical number as well. Yeah,
I was gonna say there's always a Just Dance. I missed the Ubisoft one. That is one of the ones I missed. They always do a big Just Dance musical number as well, don't they?
Yeah, the Sea of Thieves stuff is not Sea of Thieves. Skull and Bones.
The other pirate one.
Freudian slip. That stuff's so weird because as you say, it's like they're so they've been so weird about actually showing that game. and it's clearly in some sort of weird state of flux at the moment or something. So for them to just come out and just be like, "Here's a sea shanty," it's like it was supposed to have a big hands-on or something, and then someone like it fell through, and it was like, "Bring me a bring me a sea shanty band. We've got to fill 4 minutes." Absolutely
with
bizarre.
Skull and Bones. Yeah. What other weird stuff did we have? I know you have a couple other notes, right?
I mean, it's not even weird necessarily, but the Taco Bell product placement stuff in the Summer Games. So I'm just kind of picking on the Summer Games Fest showcase thing here, but the Taco Bell product placement stuff was so bad and like just so awkward in the middle of what's supposed to be this thing that he's kind of propping up as like, you know, the kind of presentable face of the games industry. It just feels like we'll never escape like Mountain Dew, you know, like
And Doritos.
yeah.
There's no escape. I
And
feel like
my other favorite was the Ubisoft Blood Dragon cartoon presentation where they brought out
Oh yeah.
they brought out that guy who made the Castlevania cartoon, which was very good, but he just revealed himself to be quietly a lunatic. He did an extremely awkward monologue with like multiple long pauses for laughs that never came, and then introduced one of the worst looking cartoons I've ever seen. So,
oh my god.
God bless him.
Yeah, maybe it's a good thing I missed that Ubisoft showcase. I would say it was like weird, but I swear Devolver were like this close to gaslighting me into like
Believing that weird mascot had been in all of their games.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss something? I was like, this is a bit, right? And then it got a few minutes in, and I was like, did I actually miss that? Was it Volvi? I think
it was Volvi.
The name was.
Like
I was
this weird rat thing.
I was like, did I?
Or I guess a vole. Was it a vole? Is that the joke?
Oh,
like a mouse.
Was it a vole?
I don't know.
I forget.
I guess it's Volvi as in Devolver. Anyway, Devolver is always a bit, and I think it almost fooled you this year because it's not their usual bit. Normally, it's this like live action gag about their fake CEO and like the like ongoing cinematic universe of Devolver, and they did not go all out with that this year. They did this like you said, Volvi gaslighting thing. So you could have missed it by accident.
It was weird, but in a good way.
Yeah. Did we have any stuff from like our own show? I'm being teacher's pet here, but like PCGS specifically, did you have like a favorite from it?
For me, I mean, this is kind of cheating because I've already checked it out for a cover feature, but Warhammer Realms of Ruin, I think is super cool, and that was the kind of standout of our show for me. It's like an RTS. It's a Warhammer RTS in a kind of very classic RTS mold. It kind of has gives me like Dawn of War vibes, but it's set in the Age of Sigmar setting, which I won't get into all the ins and outs of in this podcast because it would go on forever and bore everyone. But it's like a Warhammer setting that is the like current fantasy setting that hasn't really been explored very much in games so far. Like games mostly focus on the old Warhammer Fantasy setting, which is not kind of currently supported, and then the Warhammer 40k setting. And Age of Sigmar is this like very grand mythic. It's almost like Norse mythology or something. There's like 8 realms, and you can travel between the realms, and there are these like warriors sent down from the heavens by the gods to fight monsters and stuff. So I think it's a really fun setting for a game, and this feels like the first like big budget exciting game in that universe. So. And yeah, I got to check out a little bit for the cover feature of PC Gamer that I think is out at the moment. And I think it looks really cool, and they were the guys working on it are really passionate about it, and so I'm excited to see more of that.
That's rad. Yeah. I think for me, I really liked the look of Mullet Mad Jack, I think the name was. I think I might have to pop like a couple paracetamol. I don't. What's the US equivalent? Is it Tylenol? I think
maybe.
it's Tylenol.
I don't know what the active ingredient of Tylenol is.
Because it's so like like just watching that trailer was like so headache inducing, but like in a really fun way because it was just so colorful. It was like it's the kind of game that one of our former writers, James Davenport, would have been all over. I feel like because it was just like colorful 90s chaos. But I really like the look of it. But again, I think it's one of those games if I like stare at it for too long, it might hurt my head a little bit. But in
Yep.
a way that I'm like, yeah, I can like play through this headache. I quite liked the look of that one for me.
It's got to be Dune Awakening for me. I know zero things about Dune, but survival open world MMO, I know many things about. And as soon as we were told that was coming, like whenever that happened, I don't know how many years ago it's been, I was like, yep, I will be playing that for sure. And we had a pretty lengthy segment of like developer interviews and like looking at the world and like um, gear and like they mentioned vehicle combat. I need to go back and watch it again and pay closer attention to what they actually talked about in that whole segment. But I know it was Dune Awakening from our show for me, for sure. Um, as for like other show specific stuff, let's see, we've talked a decent amount about Summer Game Fest. I might do my quick detour of like Wholesome Games because that was the one thing I said I really wanted to do, right? Was pay closer attention to the
Yes.
Wholesome Games showcase and like really try to see like all the individual pieces. And I really did think it was great this year.
Hmm.
The like farm sim folks are winning like as usual. The Fields of Mystria, the one that looks like it's like Sailor Moon knockoff basically, like with love, that showed up at the end. It doesn't have a release date yet. I think it's like next year. Orange Season is another one that's been in early access for like a long time. I can't tell exactly what its situation was, but like it showed up and it's a lot prettier now. Moonstone Valley is like creature catching and farming. A
Ooh.
Wonderful Life, which I'm currently playing, Garden Witch Life, Maneko's Market, that we've been waiting on for like years at this point. I already told you last week, Molly, I like downloaded the Lakeburg Legacies demo and
Yes.
was playing that, which was so much fun. The city management builder plus dating sim type thing. Uh, and then they like shadow like stealth launched two things, that like cute mushroom thing, Smushy Come Home, and then the
Oh yeah.
action RP action ish game Frog Song. Both of those things launched during the show, and then we did like a roundup on the site of like the 8 best games to wish list, which is some of those things, but also some other things. Um, yeah, Wholesome show was great. I was really happy with it. Molly, did you have other stuff that you pulled out from it too?
Yeah, I liked it. So there was this one called Bubblegum Galaxy that I loved the look of. It's like a little tile-based city builder. There's all these like hexagonal tiles, and that's how you kind of put all these little like biomes together. Yeah, loved the look of that one. And it's got like a little mix of Animal Crossing thrown in there as well. Like talk to people and like
Mm-hmm.
socialize and build relationships by the looks of things.
It had like a
Love.
Katamari vibe, like the weird office thing part of it, right? Before
Yeah,
you
I know what
get
you
into
mean.
the tile thing.
Yes. But I loved the look of that. I thought that looked super cute. Sticky Business as well,
Yes.
which was like the Etsy shop
Mm-hmm.
simulator kind of thing. I loved the look of that. It's like just the perfect blend of like business management, of like a management sim, and like being like creative. It's like
Mm-hmm.
not too much creativity, not too much like management sim. It's like the perfect blend of the two. And there's a demo out for both of those, I think, right now, for Bubblegum Galaxy and for Sticky Business. So I
Mm-hmm.
will 100% be checking those out. And then Usagi Shima, I think it's called. It's like it reminded me a bit of, the cat game, like Neko.
Cats and soup. No, not that one.
There's like a cat game on mobile where like you can like decorate your yard with all these different like goodies, and then cats kind of come over to the yard. You like take pictures of them. It reminded me a bit of that, like a little like collection
I
game
think that one might
almost.
also be mobile only, right? Usagi Shima.
It wouldn't surprise me. I was gonna say it was very similar to the cat one, and then it was also in Day of the Devs, but it made an appearance in the Wholesome Direct, was
Mhm.
Beastie Ball. Beastie
Oh,
Ball
yeah,
looks
yeah.
super cool. It's like Pokemon but volleyball with like the tiniest bit of tactical RPG because it's like a 4 tile grid. And I think it's like partly you launching your moves against your opponent and then your opponent having to like predict where you're gonna put those attacks and then like do your defense in return. So like I love the look of that. That looks really good as well. There are a lot of good games in that Wholesome Direct. A lot that I
Yeah,
will be picking up. Yeah.
a lot of good stuff. Xbox showcase. Is it time to talk Xbox? The really big one. I feel like that was probably the best spread that we got from the week of showcases, right? I think there were the
Hmm.
most things that like we wanted to see updates from that showed up. Like Avowed was there, which we asked for when we were talking about this ahead of time. Fable did show up as well. Um,
Hmm.
no Viva Pinata, unfortunately. Sorry, Molly. But
So upset.
Robin, which one of those are you big into? Is it going to be Avowed or is it going to be Fable or both?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly felt like Microsoft came out swinging this year. Um,
Yes.
I am a big Fable fan, and there were things about the trailer that I really liked. I think Richard Ayoade is like the perfect person to be in a modern Fable game. Um,
Yes.
like I hope that he's like a narrator through the whole game, or he's somehow present because it feels like he's like a kind of perfect voice for a game like that. Um, and I'm definitely excited to see what a new Fable kind of is in 2023, or whenever it's coming out. I can't remember now when it's coming out. Um,
Not this year. There's no way.
Probably 2024, isn't it? But I know they've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought that it felt like it had lost something visually. Like it felt like one of those games that where like it doesn't really have an art style.
I get that.
It just has like realistic looking humans in sort of fantasy gear,
Hmm.
or not even really fantasy gear in like Richard Ayoade's case. It just looked like he was just dressed as himself, really. Um, but the original Fable games had like a quite a distinct kind of cartoony,
Hmm.
sort of
Yeah.
slightly heightened reality, slightly storybook like look to them. And I
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
struck by how almost, I mean, generic is like a harsh word to use, but like it was almost a generic look, that was a bit disappointing to me.
Unremarkable.
Yeah, like I think it got across the tone of Fable. You wouldn't
Yeah.
walk away from that not understanding that it was a Fable game, but it didn't feel like it looked like a Fable game to me, and that was a bit disappointing to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
I think
definitely had the Go ahead, Molly.
I was saying, no, I do have to agree. I got that same sort of vibe. And also, like, I have such a soft spot for the Fable 3 intro with, like, the chicken that's, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
running around. I have such a soft spot for, like, that specific cinematic. And so I think in my head, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, well, it's no Fable 3 cinematic. But, like, the Fable 3 one
There was a quick
was good.
little chicken kicking reference in there in that trailer.
Yeah. I it's it looks good. It looks good. I'm very happy to see Fable again because it's been a while since we saw anything of
Mhm.
Fable 4. I will play it regardless because I'm also a huge Fable fan. But yeah, I definitely agree, Robin. I feel like there was maybe something there visually that was maybe lacking, but I hope that that was just like a trailer situation. Even though didn't they say that that was like in engine like footage, like gameplay
Yeah,
capture?
and there were so they not only did they say that it was in-engine footage, but they're saying that it was captured on Xbox,
Mhm.
rather than PC. Um, so I mean, if that if we take that at face value, then like it looks technically good. Like it looks like
Yeah.
and it looked like it was running smoothly, and if that's what your player character, if that's what your player character kind of looks like and animates like in game, and presumably they're a customizable character, then like I've got no problem with that necessarily. Um, but yeah, definitely something it could have done with, particularly for a trailer, could have done with a
Mhm.
little bit more pizzazz. So,
Yeah.
but
It
I'm
was
I'm the
very
same. I'll
pretty.
definitely play it because I'm a big Fable fan, and I genuinely thought it was dead forever. I didn't think we were ever seeing Fable again, or at least not until it was going to get a big reboot in like 10 years time or something. So I'm really happy to see, particularly Fable is such a homegrown RPG. It's such a distinctly British RPG that it's lovely
Yes.
to see it get big backing again.
It's got that Shrek core sense of humor, right?
Oh my God, Lauren!
Yes.
Never say those words again.
Yes, it does.
How
it has
dare you.
always reminded me of Shrek in a good way, though. Like maybe Shrek
Never
was not
ever
everybody's
say
childhood
that
like it was mine.
sentence.
Mike Myers got a lot to answer for.
Yeah, straight to jail. Straight to jail for that comment.
It's been a long time since I played the original Fable, but I have good memories of it. I don't think I played Fable 3. I probably only played the first two. But also Avowed. So Avowed also came, another big RPG that we were waiting to see more of. And that's going to be, I guess, sort of a pivot for that world, because Obsidian has already done the like open world RPG with the Outer Worlds, and now they're taking the world from Pillars of Eternity and they're giving it that treatment, basically, right? With all of those characters and the setting and the vaguely piratey vibe of Pillars of Eternity.
My knowledge of Avowed is minimal.
I'll jump in. Yeah, I think like it felt like the Pillars of Eternity world with like Outer Worlds style gameplay. Like I got really strong Outer Worlds vibes from how it seemed to control and the combat and stuff. I think like we've got some really good features up on the site about it. We got a kind of exclusive on it that I would definitely encourage people to read. I think for me, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it, to be honest. I think like I wasn't that impressed by Outer Worlds, and this looking very Outer Worldsy for me is a little bit of a downer. And I also didn't really like Pillars of Eternity that much, even though I love Obsidian, I love their RPGs and the things they're saying. They've been saying that they started out wanting to go for like scale and make their Skyrim, which I think is what we were kind of expecting, and they're now saying it's more about depth and it's kind of more about a kind of small but really densely detailed area, and that's great. Like I love that. That's like the like the Disco Elysium thing, where it's like the perfect RPG is just like one amazing city block. I'm totally
that's what
down.
Obsidian excels at more than the breadth too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they're necessarily cut out for kind of doing something on the level of like a Skyrim. So that aspect of it is really interesting, and I'll definitely be like following it closely. But I'm personally the more seeing more of it in action this time, I was a bit more cautious than when we saw the kind of original CG trailer kind of pitch a couple of years ago. I thought that felt like it. I guess I wasn't expecting it to be as close to Outer Worlds in feel as it is, but which is probably naive because obviously that's the game they just worked on, so they're going to kind of bring that tech in.
Hiya, Josh here. I edit chat log. If you're listening to this, it's because we have encountered some technical issues that have meant that a few minutes of the episode have had to be cut out. We'll return to our normally scheduled programming, but sadly I don't think I can provide much context for what was lost. Apologies.
There was 33 Immortals as well, which is kind of a top-down RPG, action RPG, where there's always 33 players at any given time, and you're all kind of running around this one big map, and you're all splitting off to go into these dungeons, and the dungeons are called torture chambers. And my understanding is that you're trying to complete the torture chambers to attract the wrath of God, which is just kind of the whole thing is just kind of a wild premise. So that really stood out to me. And Phil Spencer said that was the game he was most interested in out of the show. So, if you can't take his word for it, then who can you take?
Mollie, did you catch that game that is by the Persona teams? That Metaphor Re Fantasio, which is the most that name, of course, that's its name.
It's the most like JRPG ass name.
Yeah,
I have heard in a very long time. Yeah, I do like the look of it. I feel like after Persona 5, Atlas has like found like an aesthetic that really works for them, not just in like how they design their games, but how they design like their menus and everything as well. Like their UI feels like very similar for like Persona 3 Reloaded and for this one. I feel like they found like something that works for them now, and they're just like running it with different stories and characters, right? But I'm down for that because I love a good Atlas RPG. So yeah, I would definitely be giving it a play. I will be losing like triple digit hours of my life to get some more Atlas bullshit. So yeah, it wasn't like my top trailer of the showcase, but I definitely like the look of it. So I'm looking forward to that because I will pick up whatever Atlas puts in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Any other Xbox bits before we talk Starfield? Because we will talk Starfield.
Do we have to talk Starfield?
Somebody has to defend Starfield, and it's gonna have to be me. In fact, so of course the Xbox show capped with the 45 minutes, I think, of Starfield stuff. That we've done many takes, many dissecting the details of what happened. Robin, you got spicy on Starfield for sure.
I didn't even get that spicy. I thought my takes were pretty mild, but people disagree. People were not happy with my takes.
So what is you two, I guess, like general feelings after all that new Starfield stuff? I don't know, Molly, have you gotten the chance to watch? It was a lot of Starfield.
I did not. I did not watch the Starfield stuff.
It's okay, you'll catch up on that part later. Robin has plenty of opinions.
Yeah, I will definitely watch all of the Starfield stuff. 100%, that is something I will do. I think I discussed this in another podcast. I'm just not interested in Starfield at all, and I am so sorry. I am sorry to everyone who is excited for it. I just prefer my Bethesda games in like weird medieval fantasy. Sci-fi, I have to like be very, very like convinced to play like a sci-fi RPG. It just doesn't really appeal to me, and I am worried that we're falling into like another like cyberpunk trap, or where the hype might eclipse the game.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern is like the game might still be good, but I'm very concerned about the hype eclipsing
The reality.
what may end up being just an okay game.
You do
But
not
I'm
want to go
hopeful.
to space.
I do not want to go to space. I am like, if it's very good, I might try it. But I've never really loved like Fallout or any other of like that sort of side of Bethesda. I've been like a sole Elder Scrolls girly, so I'm sorry, everyone.
That's
do
fair. You
apologize.
just prefer the medieval stuff. Robin, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very long present. Like, I think as a games journalist, it's very rare that I would say we're being shown too much of a game, but that presentation did feel to me like yeah, this is a lot of Starfield. We're getting into a lot of minutiae that I don't know that are actually getting me more excited for this game. I agree with Molly that I think there's a lot of stuff it's doing that feels like it's making mistakes that we've seen before. Like, whenever they talk about the fact that there's 1,000 planets and they're all like procedurally generated, I'm just like, are we really going to step on this rake again? Like, we've been down this road. If there are 1,000 planets, that means there are like 5 good ones and 995 boring ones. Like, it's impossible to build, crafted, compelling content at that scale, and that's not Bethesda's fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's just reality. Like, so I'm concerned about that aspect of it. I think tonally, I'm not. This is one of the things I wrote about, is that tonally, I think it's the whole NASA punk thing. I think is like it's like quite well done, but I just think it's quite dry and sterile. It's like not a world I'm like excited to explore. but then at the same time, it's got all this like goofy, very like unsubtle Bethesda stuff, like a space cowboy town that just feels like something that's just they just put it in because that's something you would put in Fallout, and like store like in when a skeleton came up on screen, a posed skeleton, and a guy said environmental storytelling, I was like, Bethesda has learned nothing. And the big thing for me is that I think Bethesda, there are some things that Bethesda does that it's extremely good at, and like Skyrim and like Fallout 3 are, landmark games. Like, they are groundbreaking, incredible games. But I feel really unconvinced that Bethesda can modernize that formula. Like, I feel really unconvinced that Bethesda can make a really impressive groundbreaking open world in 2023. I feel like what I'm looking at is just like Fallout 4 again. That's what I see when I look at Starfield. Which I know that probably the majority of listeners will disagree with me, and I'm going to have to talk about this game for like the next 15 years. So the joke will be on me when it's re-released for the like 12th time. But that's my feeling so far. But
Yeah.
what do you think, Lauren?
Well, so I came into it with, my expectations kind of lowered. We talked about this, Mollie, you and I, with Wes heading into the showcases, and I was feeling sort of like you, Robin, where I was like, I don't know if the tone is going to be as weird as I want to be. And after going through the 45 minutes or whatever it was of Starfield, like kind of frame by frame ish, like between me and Chris Livingston, we've seen many frames of that presentation, individual planet names, ridiculous dialogue stuff. The weird is in there. And it feels like what we've gotten is the last year and a half, 2 years of Todd Howard saying things like space is dangerous and like exploration is so cool, and like this very aspirational tone, and like space flight of the mid-century, and then everybody else, if you actually like go back and listen to what the developers are saying during that showcase, they're talking about the weird Bethesda DNA, like you're saying, Robin, the space cowboys, the freaking guys on the beach with the goldfish, and like all this strange stuff. There's a guy in there where one of the quest dialogue options is like something about he needs his beans back, and I don't know what's up with that. But like it's like we've only been hearing the Todd Howard take for like a year and a half, and actually that's not what this is. I think it is just weird Bethesda stuff, but in space. So I actually, after like going through it much slower, I am feeling more positive. I am with you, Mollie, in that it is known I am a fantasy girly. I don't love going to space. I will go to space. I do have my concerns that yes, like 900 of the 1,000 planets are going to be just a place where you go and you shoot your laser at an iron ore and then you like skedaddle, right? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I do like when you go back and you think about Skyrim that has lasted this long, and like everybody, even us, we're like, I still go back and sometimes want to start up a new Skyrim playthrough. Like, is Skyrim actually that interesting, like on its own? Or does it just have this weird mythical quality of like, I think Bethesda games maybe it's like when the rubber hits the road is sort of the stuff that makes it fun. Like their stupid physics. Like we're about to see a game with like more intentional physics than Skyrim had. And like the whole joke and like gravity stuff, the whole joke of Skyrim is like the physics system being like slapstick comedy once you get into it, right? Yeah, I think we won't see the best of Starfield until we see people like just doing stupid shit in Starfield. Sort of as we've been seeing with like Tears of the Kingdom lately, right? With people's like contraption disasters. I think that's going to be the joy of it, is seeing like what people find. And it feels like that's in it somewhere, but we're just still getting the corporate line version of it right now, I guess, which is not its strong suit.
I'm seeing a lot of conversations where people are like, is it going to launch with all the bugs like they normally do and stuff like that? I'm like,
they say no, but probably yeah.
Yeah. Of course it's going to be a buggy mess when it launches, and I don't even really hold that against it at this point. Like they are wheeling out the like most enormous stack of cards that you, like the most
Mm-hmm.
tower of cards you've ever seen in games. You know, for whether I think that content is interesting or not, like there will be an incredible amount of it and an incredible amount of stuff that can interact. Of course, it's going to be a mess. Like
Yeah.
guaranteed, it's going to be like New Vegas out there. we're gonna see some stuff, but yeah, I think you're right that like as you say, when the rubber hits the road, that's the interesting thing. It's like what do people find out there? Like how do things kind of interact? What breaks in like
Yeah.
fun ways or interesting ways? And like
Exactly.
the developer who said that she just spent all her time collecting sandwiches, like Fraser wrote a very good article about that being like the actual most exciting thing is that kind of connecting with the real player mentality in these games. But yeah.
I think Starfield and like Bethesda games in general might have this opposite thing that like we see so many games and sometimes you'll catch a concept that sounds so cool and you're like, yes, I want to play that genre mashup or like that setting with these mechanics. That sounds awesome. And then you play it and you're like, I don't know. It was fine, I guess. It was a really cool idea, but like the game was fine. And you listen to like these talks about Starfield or like as a concept, like, okay, yeah, space flight, it's got cowboys, it's got the cyberpunk city, like it sounds fine. But I think the opposite is it's actually better when you get into play it and it's like stupid, weird, sometimes broken, unlikely stuff. I think I'm hoping, I guess, that it's sort of that opposite effect of being strange and neat, even if the concept is, average, fine, normal. Let's see. Okay. Starfield, done. I'll put Starfield away now. I've argued with Robin about Starfield. Do we have any other any stuff that you guys didn't know about or had forgotten completely that you saw a trailer for and were like super into?
I already gave a little shout out to being grateful for more Fable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was, it was really nice to see more Fable 4 again. And okay, it's not quite something I didn't know about, but I did really want to shout out the new Prince of Persia game.
Yeah.
that Ubisoft is developing.
But specifically not something you didn't know about.
No, it was something that I knew about and was not excited for until I saw it.
Okay.
So I have never played Prince of Persia. I have like a pretty good knowledge of Prince of Persia, like as a series, and I have like watched my friends and my dad play like Sands of Time and stuff like that.
Don't say your dad. This is no.
It's
This is not one of these things where you make me feel 1,000 years old.
I'm 27. Okay, I'm not that. I'm not that old.
It's one
I'm
of
not
my dad's
that
favorite
young.
games, you know.
I was old enough to have played Sands of Time myself, but not old enough to have been interested in Sands of Time. But it looks amazing, and I know people weren't too like jazzed about that reveal trailer, but it is very fun. It is very good puzzle platforming. It's a very good Metroidvania, in my opinion. And I think the more people see of that game, I think after the Ubisoft Forward, people were like warming up to it a little bit as well. I think that first trailer people didn't love, but that is a surprise hit for me of the announcement season, which probably helps that I played it.
Yeah,
but it's still a surprise hit for me. So that is kind of the one that really took me by surprise this season. Yeah.
What about you, Robin?
One thing that I really didn't expect was Still Wakes the Deep, which is the new game from the Chinese Room, who made Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs, and as well as like Dear Esther and Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. I hadn't even considered like what are those guys doing now. It hadn't even occurred to me like what are they doing now. But obviously they would be working on something. So Still Wakes the Deep is kind of it's like a horror game, first-person horror game set on what seems to be like an oil rig, which is such a great horror location. I mean, like that's perfect, right? Like it's completely isolated. It's really like massive and creepy, and like it's this kind of one of those kind of weird other spaces, like you're kind of aware it exists, but none of us have ever been to one. Um, and I think so wisely they didn't show the monster in the trailer, but I think it's supposed to be a kind of almost like The Thing vibes,
Yeah.
but they were pretty restrained about that in the trailer. I'm really bad with first person horror games. I'm like very easily spooked, so I probably won't even be able to finish it, but I love the vibes of it. And then the other thing that it's not really, so this is definitely something I didn't expect, is I knew there was DLC coming for Cyberpunk 2077 and that they were going to kind of talk about that. But what I didn't realize is that they're doing some pretty big overhauls to the core game. From what I've heard, they're like, I've not really looked too deeply into it, but from what I've heard, they're like changing how leveling works. They're changing the combat system. Like they're making some pretty core changes that are going to be free alongside the DLC.
Oh wow!
And I never played 2077 because it had such a bad reputation, and I was I was like preemptively disappointed by that because, we were writing about it for like 10 years or something, it felt like. So so when it came out and people were like down on it, I was like, oh, I can't even bring myself. But so I've kind of been waiting for that mythical point where it receives enough patches to be fixed,
Yeah.
But I thought we'd kind of crossed that Rubicon. I didn't think, I thought, they've done a lot of work to it. It's probably now kind of at the point of as good as it's going to get. So to hear them like doing a big overhaul, that made me go like, maybe I want to play Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time in 2023. So yeah, that took me by surprise.
It's gotta be Dragon's Dogma 2 for me, which like Robin, you can probably support me on this because like
Hell
speaking
yeah.
of Elder Scrolls, like I'd never played the original Dragon's Dogma, and after watching that trailer, I was like, why have I not played Dragon's Dogma? Like why have I not played the first one? It's got cat people and everything, right? And
the first one doesn't have cat people, but
oh well, okay. Now
sorry.
it's Dragon's Dogma 2. Never mind. I'm not playing the original. I'm only here for the sequel. I need the lion people. Gotta play one of those. Yeah, the world, the combat, it looked interesting to me. I was liking the third person perspective and the animations they had around magic. I was just into it. I need to go back and watch it again more closely and figure out what the heck Dragon's Dogma 2 is. Cause...
You should play the first game, because the thing that really struck me about the Dragon's Dogma 2 trailer is that it really does just look like more Dragon's Dogma. Like I thought when they went back to that series, they would like make some kind of big change, some kind of attempt to make it, I guess, have a kind of broader appeal, because it's kind of a cult here. But it's just more Dragon's Dogma, and that's great, because Dragon's Dogma 1 is its own perfect weird thing that makes compromises for no one, and it holds up really well. I would really recommend, if anyone saw that trailer and thought, like yourself, Lauren, thought this looked cool, go play that first one. Loads of the stuff you think looks cool in that trailer is in the first game. You can climb on monsters and stab them in the neck. It's got wild spell animations. Summoning pawns into your world is crazy. Forget cat people. Like, you can download like Shrek and have him come along with you on an adventure in Dragon Dogma 1. Like, yeah, that game is fantastic, and that's another thing I'd given up hope of ever getting a Dragon's Dogma 2. I'd completely given up hope. So that trailer really excited me.
Yeah, I was immediately grabbed. I'm really psyched about it. Any other generalized? We've been at it for a while. Any other like general shout outs that we want to make? We've been through like most of the shows. We've talked to Ubisoft. We didn't really talk about Capcom. Is there any exciting Capcom stuff that we want to talk?
We talked Dragon's Dogma.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, any other general recs, things to keep an eye on? Shout outs?
Do we want to kind of comment on the whole thing, like the kind of, because this is a year without E3, maybe how it's going to be going forward. We don't know if E3 is going to survive now. It
went pretty well.
Yeah, I thought like when the Summer Games Fest intro, I was a bit like, oh no, because we've had a few quiet years for like summer announcements. I think because of the pandemic and its kind of after effects,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of ongoing effects, I should say. And when we had the Summer Games Fest intro, I was like, "Ooh, this is a bit limp. Is this going to be a weak year?" But then I thought like Xbox came out swinging. I thought Ubisoft was really good, um, uh, with lots of really cool indie stuff. I thought our show was
Mm-hmm.
really good, obviously. So I think it's still all a bit spread out and it's still a little bit weird. And Chris said earlier, I refuse to cede the summer season to Jeff Keighley. This idea that he's like going to brand the whole thing as being Summer Games Fest, I do still object to. But like, man, someone else has got to get in there and give it a name. Otherwise, he's gonna take it by default. But it was exciting. It felt a bit like games are back to me. This summer did feel
Yeah.
like games are back again.
Yeah.
I would even put that down partly to scheduling, honestly. I mean, the year 2020 is what I remember as being the most painful, the first year of the pandemic that everything was canceled. That summer, I mean, showcases were all over the place. People didn't know what they were doing. This was the first time for any of this. And I mean, it was like June through late July that we were seeing publisher showcases. It was painful. This is great. It's not E3, but it was all over the course. It was crammed into 7 days of showcases. And I think that helps us actually take stock of the whole situation to, like you said, Robin, like kind of compare performance from different publishers. I mean, we're able to look at Summer Game Fest versus, which is not a publisher, but versus Xbox versus Ubisoft. PlayStation was slightly earlier in May, and actually see what worked and what didn't. So yeah, this season definitely felt better than the last few years, I would say, for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I agree.
We didn't even talk about Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed was at Ubisoft. It looked good. I'm psyched for like proper stealth again. Morgan has a story on the site about it, which you can go read. And as you mentioned, Robin, Wes had a really good interview with Obsidian's creative director. What is Carrie Patel now? But an interview with Obsidian about Avowed. Lots of good interviews, hands-on stuff on the site that you can go find for more of all this. A lot of Starfield takes too. As well.
If you want to read my thoughts about romancing NPCs in Starfield and then get very angry about them and send me an email, then head to the website.
I'm glad you wrote that, Robin, because either you were or I was going to, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I wish like Bethesda, like for all that I just defended it, focus on what you're good at. And romance isn't it. It never is. It was not good. It was decent in Fallout 4. Some of those characters were interesting and good. It was not good in Fallout 76 because obviously it was like tacked on way after the fact. But yeah, I don't think romance is like Bethesda's strong suit, and they should stick to like weird physics disasters.
All the comments on that story, like all the angry comments, are just people basically being like, "You're right, but you shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Stop pointing it out."
That is one part I will defend you. You are right. I wish they would just not do romance. Anything else we missed? Any big stuff?
I'm sure there's loads.
Yeah, we've missed so much. It's not possible, but we will continue talking about it for weeks, I am sure. Thank you both for joining me for look back on the thing that we refuse to call just Summer Game Fest and also is not E3. We're still taking name submissions. Please, somebody name it. I can't do it.
Drop your suggestions.
Naming stuff is hard.
The PC Gamer Summer Gaming Showcase. That's what we should call it.
Yeah.
Ship it. Love it.
Yeah.